Hello there, greetings from Split again. I have just finished playing round 4. As you can see, as I have announced, I got paired with a stronger opponent, so it's either much weaker or much stronger. So this opponent was a fellow from Germany, and he's, as you can see, over 2000 rating. And yeah, this game ended up in a draw, but it was very, very dynamic, very, very exciting, and it was actually he who initiated the draw by a threefold repetition. In the end, although he had a better position most of the game, but I stood my ground. I fought, and yeah, I'm very happy how the game turned out, because to get a draw from a much stronger opponent is always a nice thing to have. Just before I get to the game, a quick update about the air condition. It still doesn't work, so it's still very hot in the tournament hall. It's very difficult to play under these conditions. They promised, the guys from the hotel promised that they will fix it today, so we will see. And the whole tempo of play is very intensive. I had one round, then next 2 rounds in one day, then now the second round, and I'm active in between. I'm not just staying in my room. I go out and with kids on the beach. I'm swimming, I'm diving, everything. So I was very tired in this game, and at one point I got cramps in my legs. So it was very painful. I just played. I was so it was so intense. I was thinking so hard, and suddenly my legs, these cramps and spasms in my muscles. So I had troubles getting up because I was I was all in the cramps. So I went to the to this lady on the bar and asked her for some sugar and water, just to get my muscles relaxed once again. So yeah, physically very exhausting game because it lasted for a long time. I was tired before. There was these cramps, no air condition. So yeah, I'm very happy given everything how I played. So okay, it's a very interesting game and a complicated game. So let me get to the analysis. I opened the game with e4. He went for the Sicilian defense with c5, knight f3. So I'm waiting to see what will he do. So um, he can either play something along these lines, in which I will probably go for this bishop to b5 Sicilian, which I played recently. I like it very much because it's just quick development and quick castling, so it's the most classical way of playing. And if he does anything else, I'm going for the c3 and trying to grab the center. So this is how I play Sicilian these days. He played e6, I played c3 here. So this is the plan. I want to go for the center. And now there are two good moves here. One is d5 and another one is knight f6. And later when I discussed the game with my opponent, he told me that he didn't want to play either of these moves because he thought that I'm full of theory and that I know these main lines very well. But yeah, he should have played one of these moves. These are the only moves which gives black some chance for equality. He played d6 instead and just allowed me to have the full center with d4. And now white is better here. I have the full center. If he takes, I take with the pawn. I still have a full center. He played knight to d7 here, and I developed my bishop on f4. I realized that he cannot play e5 here. So when you develop the bishop, you consider e5. I realized he cannot play this, so yeah, it's a nice place to have the bishop. And also another thing, you can see that this pawn is kind of weak pawn. So when he moved these two pawns, he created a hole here on d6, and there is a pawn on d6. So it's okay to start making pressure on this pawn. So this pawn is currently defended once, but once the game is opened, maybe I can just grab this pawn. Here he played the knight g to f6, so just normal development, and also attacking my pawn. So I have to defend the pawn. There are several ways I can do this. I can either put my knight here, but then I'm blocking the queen, so I don't like this very much. I can put the queen on e2, but again, then I don't protect this queen so much, and I want to have the queen here. So the third alternative is to play bishop to d3, and I played this bishop. It does block the queen, but this bishop can easily go back to c2 one day, and then the queen is opened, and this pawn is still protected. So this was the idea. Queen c7. And here I missed the idea. So I was thinking, why did he play this? You know, Queen c7. What's the point? I didn't really realize. I saw that he's protecting this pawn, and okay, he has some maybe ideas about c5. But the main reason why he played bishop to c7, which I missed, is to push e5. So I missed this idea. If I did see it, I still don't know how would I react. Maybe I would retreat the bishop beforehand. I'm not sure. But the point is I didn't see this simple idea. So I castled here, and then he played e5. And now he can play e5 because the queen is supporting e5. Okay. Bishop to g3, retreating the bishop. I don't want to break the tension. So I have the full center. I want to keep the full center. If he wants to take, he'll just be left with a very weak pawn. So, for example, after retreating, if he wants to take, I'm fine with this because now this pawn is isolated. It's weak. It's attacked already once. It can be very easily attacked, 3 times with no problem, and I have much counterplay just on this pawn. So I realized that he doesn't want to break the tension here, and neither do I, because I like having full center. So I retreated the bishop, and here I played the bishop to e7. Okay, preparing to castle, and I played h3 here because I like this bishop, and I didn't want him to attack the bishop. He could have played this knight to h5 here, hunting the bishop, and then I will lose the bishop. Okay, I have to live with this, but well, he's giving me now the opportunity to save the bishop, so I played h3, and also this g4 square, is interesting for his bishop, for his knight, so I'm taking all this away, and yeah, I'm happy with my position. He castled short, and now I'm just developing the pieces, so I developed the knight. And now this knight has many prospects. It can come here, it can come here. I'm looking at this d5 square, in the future, so this knight can be maneuvered to d5. The problem is that d5 is protected by his knight, and he has this knight which can replace the knight. So even if I would go, for example, with the bishop and take the knight, he can take back with the knight, and still he's controlling d5. But okay, in the future, I mean, this knight can go, here on d5, or after I move the rook, this could also be the route for the knight. So this knight has many prospects. He played a rook to e8, so participating that maybe one day this file, it can be easily opened, and then this pawn could kind of hang. I mean, now it's protected twice, but if this knight moves, it's only protected once, and it can be easily attacked twice. So anyway, to stop all this, I played the rook to e1, which I wanted to play anyway. Now this pawn is well protected, and I'm countering and controlling this file as well. And now he played bishop to f8, so activating his rook. So he wants to remaneuver his bishop maybe on the fianchetto side. This is typical idea, many openings in old Indian and similar openings. So now I played knight to c4. So my knight is now active. It's hitting this pawn, which is kind of awkward. I can always pile up on this pawn maybe in the future, but in case he attacks my knight, I can just put it on e3, and then I'm controlling and aiming for d5 square. So it's fine. Here he played g6, and yeah, he later told me that this was his biggest blunder, positional blunder, because there are many other things to do here, and yeah, this is just a very slow move. He can fianchetto, but still he will be looking at his own pawn. So if he fianchettos, I can then close the position, and he's just looking at his own pawn. He was also considering moves like he told me something, to put the bishop on here on h6, maybe, and then try to do something with the knight. Oh, okay. So, this was the idea. So knight to h5. Then he can maybe put the knight on f4, and this could be supported by the bishop on h6. Yeah. So this was his thinking. He told me later when we analyzed the game. And here I made a blunder. So and he wasn't sure if it was a blunder or just, you know, positional brilliancy. So there is a joke. They say, what is the difference between a blunder and sacrifice? So if you make it, it's a blunder. If Grandmaster makes it, it's a positional sacrifice. So, but it was a blunder. I didn't see this. Here I played bishop to c2, which makes sense positionally because now the queen is activated on the d file, and the bishop is still protecting the pawn, so it's doing its job, so it makes sense. But I played this move very quickly because I thought, okay, the position is low, I can make this kind of moves, and I didn't do the blunder check. And if I don't do the blunder check, I usually blunder. So if you watch my previous videos about blunders, about algorithms and so forth, so the question is, whenever you want to move the piece, you have to ask yourself what job did this piece have before you moved it, or what was the piece protecting, or in other words, what weaknesses do you leave behind. So what is this bishop doing here? It's protecting the knight and it's protecting the pawn. So after you move the bishop on c2, what is the weakness? What is the job the piece used to perform, and now it doesn't perform anymore? It's this one. So these are the weakness of the last move, or the question, what weakness do I leave behind? So yeah, if you are considering here bishop to c2, you have to be aware that this bishop no longer protects the knight. So the knight becomes unprotected. And I didn't do this blunder check. I just, I just played this move. And this is one big lesson from this game. So every time I have to do blunder check, because if I don't do this, I will blunder. It's just like that. Maybe once I play, 200 over the board games and I get higher rated and I get experienced, maybe this will be done subconsciously. But at this stage of my chess strength, I have to consciously ask myself these questions, otherwise I will blunder, like I blundered here. But luckily for me, this blunder is also gives me some counterplay. So yeah, he wasn't sure if this is blunder or positional sacrifice. Then later on, I told him it was a blunder, and he was laughing. And he said, yeah, it was a good blunder. So he now took the pawn, and the problem is after he takes the pawn, I cannot take the pawn back because now this guy is hanging. So I have to play something else. So here I played rook to b3, which engine doesn't like so much, but actually it's an intimidating move because now I'm eyeing for this unprotected or weakly protected f7 square. So there are some ideas, even taking the knight here, taking the pawn and attacking, or go with knight with g5 and attacking. Especially if I put my rook here. So for example, if the rook is here, if this pawn is not here, then this will be a very strong move, and so forth. So he got scared a little bit. He thought that if he now takes the pawn, I can play a rook to c1, and now if he takes, I can take with the knight. I am 2 pawns down at this moment, but I have so much activity, coming that yeah, maybe I could make some. Queen can go here if this knight wasn't here, and so on. So he saw this position and he was afraid. So he thought that he wants to, he doesn't want to take the pawn, and he played b5. And in this moment he made a blunder himself. So I blundered the pawn, and 2 moves later he blunders the pawn as well. He was thinking that I have to move my knight back to d2, and then he would have some space advantage and so forth. But he didn't see this knight to a3, which I played, and now this pawn is unprotected. It's hanging, and it's hanging with a tempo. So now I will get my pawn back, but he will have a much better position. So he played knight to c5, going after this pawn, which is now protected only once, because there is this bishop and this knight. They used to protect this pawn, and now they are gone. So he wants to take this pawn, and now we exchange some pawns. So first I take the d pawn, then he takes my e pawn, and then I take the b pawn with the tempo, and now the material is equal. He plays queen to b6, attacking the knight, and I retrieve the knight on c3, and now he has to do something about this knight. If he takes, I can take with the pawn, and then I'm happy because my pawns will be connected and it's a fine position. So yeah, he has to do something. He decided to take my bishop, which is a good move, because after I take the knight back, first of all, I lost the good bishop. He now has the advantage of the bishop pair, and here he'll have the majority on the king side, and he has passed pawn because now this pawn moved here. So actually he's much better here. So he played bishop to b7, and you can see the problem is that my pawn is pinned. So I'm still struggling to keep the material equal, because I cannot just simply take the pawn, and if I move my king now, then he can take the pawn. So I have to play very carefully if I want to keep the material equal. And I did found this very nice move, knight to a4, and now I'm covering both of these squares, and he has to move off this diagonal, and then I can take the pawn and keep the material equal. So he played queen to a2, queen to a5, which is very strong move, because he's controlling this rank, which is important, because my ideas of knight to g5, hitting this pawn, are now a little bit compromised. So I took the pawn. I mean, it's now or never if I want to keep the equal material. He takes back, and now I just move myself off this diagonal. And this is actually a bad move. I was afraid to keep the king here, but on the other hand, this knight is covering these two squares very well. So he cannot deliver check. He could, but then he would have to keep to lose the bishop. I'm not sure. I just don't like this. Yeah. So the engine thinks I should have played the knight to g5, going for this threat. But yeah, I was too afraid, so I played king to h2. Now the king is nicely protected. I don't need to be afraid of some discard checks or something. He brought his other rook to the game, so rook a8 to d8, hitting the queen. And now I was thinking a lot about this, because the problem is, if I move the queen, for example, to e2, which makes sense because it protects the knight, then he can play e4, and I cannot bring my knight to g5 because it's protected. So this is the problem with this move. The other move I was considering was maybe to put the queen on c1, and this is what I played in the game, so I just played the move. So the idea was, if he now plays e4, I can jump with the knight on g5. I can play for some activity, hitting this, and so on, because now the queen is covering g5. So this is what I was played. This is what I played, and I was afraid of some other possibilities. So, for example, I was looking at this. Bishop takes g3, f3. Sorry, g takes f3, and now he can penetrate with the rook. So this was something I was afraid of. So I'm not so sure how to handle this. I have to move my king, and then, well, maybe I can later on play the king to d1, to fight for this. But now he has e4, and yeah, it really looks bad. It really looks bad at this moment. I'll probably lose this. But he didn't see this. But anyway, here I had to, see what is better. Is it better to put the queen on e2 and allow e4 immediately, or to put the queen on c1 and allow this penetration after this knight is gone? So it wasn't an easy decision. But anyway, I chose this line, and he was afraid of knight to g5, so he played this h6 move, and now I played queen to c2. So I was thinking that this is nice move coming with the tempo. I can just take this pawn. It will be a checkmate if he doesn't do anything, because this pawn is pinned. And now I can bring my other rook to the game. So I thought it was a nice, tempo move. He played king to g7, stopping all these ideas. And now I played rook a to d1. So at least all my pieces are now playing. And now he played a4, hitting my knight. I moved the knight on d2. It's more active than g1 anyway. And now he played e3. Just pushing the pawn. It's now very unpleasant. Like I said, this pawn is passed pawn because my pawns are here, and I found this move knight to c4 here. And yeah, I was very tired, like I said, and my opponent was now in a serious time trouble. I had like 40 minutes on the clock, so I was playing rather quickly, and he had like 2 minutes. It's played on increment, so he had to find the moves. I thought that I was winning the pawn here because I didn't see how can he protect the pawn. I was looking, okay, here is unavailable, this is unavailable, this is unavailable. So I thought, yeah, he has to move the queen somewhere, and then I just take the pawn. I would probably take, if he would move queen, for example, to a6, I would probably take with the rook, because if I take with the knight, it could be a blunder because he has this in between move, and then I have to move, and my knight hangs. So I was thinking that he will play something like queen to a6, and then I can just take with the rook. But I didn't see that, he can protect it from these squares, but also this square. I didn't see this square, g5. So yeah, it's difficult to see these lateral moves, especially when the game goes on for more than 3 hours now. So he played this queen to g5, protecting the pawn. And now the engine says the best move is to take the rook here, but it's very, very complicated. I was considering this. I couldn't see this all the way through, so I played h4. I went to the sharp line. I saw this check. I was calculating, and it looked to me that I could get away with this check. And again, if he moves the queen away, then this pawn is hanging. I didn't see that when he gives me a check, he will also be protecting this pawn. I think I missed this. Maybe no, I don't even remember. It was so many variants, so complicated. I don't even remember what I was calculating. So he played knight to g4 check. I played king to g1, and now I think the best move was to just to play queen to f6. I saw this queen to f6 move. I saw that it stops this check, but I didn't see that he has this very strong check with mate coming if I'm not very careful. So yeah, I missed this and he missed this also. So he first took the rook. I mean, he saw this, but he first decided to take the rook. And yeah, I took the rook back. I don't want to take with the rook because he'll just push the pawn. So I took with the queen. And also now I'm hitting the knight. And now he realized this idea. So he played the queen to f6. And at first I didn't see this idea. So I almost blundered a mate, just taking the knight immediately, and then he would just give the check here and take the rook, and it would be over. I was suspicious, He did have less than a minute on the clock, so it's possible to blunder. But I was suspicious, did he really blunder this knight? And then I saw this idea. Only now I saw this. So I have to stop it now. I don't have much choice. So I played the rook to e2, and he spent almost all his time. He had like 2 minutes, and he spent his whole time calculating, and then with just few seconds of the clock, he played queen to f2. He thought he had calculated the mate, but actually I did have a defense. But it was very good calculation from his part. He did miss a defense, but anyway, if I defend, he has a draw. So it's a good way to play. Try if your calculation was correct, you will a checkmate. If no, it will be a draw. So this is how he played. I have to take. He takes with a check. I go king to f1. And now he has a very nice combination. So he first delivers check. Here I take, and now I thought, okay, he will take, I will take, and he will take this pawn, and the game will be equal. He will have advantage because he has a bishop pair advantage, but materially equal. And here he played a move which surprised me, and I almost resigned the game after he played this bishop to g2 check. Because now if I take the bishop, he just takes my queen and promotes. And I cannot take the pawn. And I was thinking here, I missed this move. So every time I miss a move, I think that it's over. I have to resign. But it's not like this in chess. Many times you miss the move, and then if you think hard, you find some other resources in the position. Because chess is a very complex game, the positions are usually complex, and don't get discouraged. If you didn't see the move, you miss the move, just think, and maybe you'll find some resource. And here I did find a resource, and it was just, you know, I don't want to take, obviously, but I can just play king to e2. And well, my opponent was so tired. He spent all his time. He didn't even get up in the game. He was thinking so hard that I saw on him that he was, you know, losing his focus, his concentration. And actually, in this position, he took the bishop, thinking that it was a rook, and he played like bishop, you know, bishop to e8, thinking he plays rook to e8. So this just gives you the impression how intense these games are. You know, he's a 2000 plus player, obviously very strong, very experienced. But when you're sitting on the board for 3.5 hours, thinking all the time, you know, getting your brain work at maximum, you just you start hallucinating. So he grabbed the bishop and he played bishop to e8. And then he started to apologize. I mean, okay, of course I will not be calling the arbiter or something, you know, reporting illegal move. It will be ridiculous. So I said, yeah, it's okay. I understand. I got hallucinations as well at this part of the game, this stage of the game. So yeah, here he again spent all the time he had like a minute or two. And he decided to go with a draw. So he delivered the check. Of course, I cannot take because he'll take and promote, so I can come back. He played bishop to g2 check, and we both realized that there will be threefold repetition. And at this point, we shook hands and agreed to draw. So very interesting game. Many turnarounds, many suspicious moves, many blunders, many oversights. It's just you know, real chess battle. You know, psychological battle, battle on the board, fatigue, everything was present in this game. So I was very satisfied. First of all, with the result, the draw. It's okay, but you know, with the dynamics of the game, it was very interesting. Maybe one of the most interesting games I have ever played. And after the game, we went on. We sit on the board in the hall next to the playing hall, and we analyzed the game. And we came to the half, and then we both got so tired, and we told, okay, I mean, we are too tired. We cannot even analyze the game anymore. And yeah, we shook hands again, and it was a very nice game and very nice holistic chess experience. Thank you very much for watching. So it's the end of round 4. I'm playing round 5 today, just a few hours from now. So wish me luck, and see you with the analysis of the next round. Cheers.